Where is the hometown of the Yordles? People have different opinions on this issue, but some mortals claim to have passed through invisible portals and entered the strange magical world beyond the physical realm, where they saw the city of the Yordle. In their descriptions, the magic there is flourishing, not just because all the Yordles living there are magical, but the place seems to have magical powers: flowers, birds, fish and insects, landscapes, trees and rocks, all things are, it seems, to have their own life. Those reckless and arrogant intruders will be led astray by countless strange scenes in that world, and finally lost in endless dreams. They will never find their way back home, and they will never be able to return to the material field. In their description, in the Yordle city named Bandar City, any alien traveler who is lost will feel that all of his senses have been strengthened, and this strengthening is like it is for their convenience, so that they can better appreciate the beauty of that world, and it is a very special welcome ceremony for them from that world. In their descriptions, everything seen in Bandar City is colorful and colorful. The taste of food and water is even more intoxicating over the years. The taste buds explode. As long as you taste the food in Bandar City, you will live a lifetime. Memorable. In their description, the sun melts in Bandar City, the spring water is endless, and the right breeze is blowing on the face, like a lover's caress, making people fascinated and incapable of stopping. Just blowing the wind can be stunned. Blow all afternoon. In their description, every plant in Bandar City will bear many fruits, and every big tree in the sky will provide cool shade for travelers to rest. Perhaps some of these descriptions are indeed true, and perhaps these descriptions are simply false, because no two storytellers can agree on what they saw and heard in Bandar City. There is only one thing that can be certain and can get the unanimous approval of those narrators, and that is that Bandar City and the residents inside have a certain property of transcending time. This may explain why the mortals who came back from there were all aged so much in one night, and even more people simply disappeared and never returned and died in that world. And this may be the reason why their sense organs can be strengthened, because they paid the price of their lives. In short, the legends related to the Yordles and Bandar City have never ceased in the entire Rune land, and have always been like this since ancient times. Keenan. Is that what you did to your brother? Your lightning magic is really innate and powerful. Unfortunately, you don't know how to use it. Bandar City, a magical place between the spiritual realm and the physical realm, belongs to the homeland of the Yordles. At this time, Reed was arguing with his brother Keenan. They had just fought in their own manner. The destructive power of the two men was so great that almost all the flowers, crops, and fruit trees in the manor were destroyed. Reed and Keenan have very obvious physical characteristics of Yordle males, that is, they are short and only about 1 meter in size, and their bodies are fluffy like animals. The Yordle is a short creature with a height of about 1 meter. Males and females of the Yordle can be clearly distinguished. The faces of men are generally hairy and look exactly like a certain animal, while women are. The face is hairless, and the skin is smooth and appears blue or purple. And the pair of Yordle brothers who are arguing, from a human perspective, they are probably two very cute, anthropomorphic little animals in clothes, although there is one wearing a purple ninja costume, which is very wrapped. Yan Shi, can't see her face anymore. The two Yordles of these brothers are not the same in size. One of them is dressed as a drifter, wearing a black hat, wearing a blood cloak, and 2 swords commensurate with his height in the waist, which is taller than his brother. It is taller and stronger, the body color is black and white, the cheeks are round, and there are 2 big dark circles. At this time, this Yordle with the characteristics of an iron eater, the hair on his body was exploding fluffy, and even the white hair was slightly burnt black, as if it had been electrified. Obviously this was what they had just fought. Result. Reed, you are still the same as before, always relying on your own brute force to cause all kinds of troubles. When will you be able to understand the true meaning of the balance? As an elder brother, Keenan was not at all polite to his younger brother. After punishing Reed with his incomparable lightning magic, he ignored Reed's clamor, and instead began to educate him as his brother. Germany. Balance. Balance. You know balance all day long. Guarding the Onet herd of Ionia, one day you will understand that balance can't do anything. Go to TMD balance. And his younger brother Reed didn't have any desire to be soft. He didn't actually act in the battle. After all, Keenan is his elder brother. Some things are not suitable for fighting with his relatives. He endured it, and didn't get angry because of it. But Reed didn't want to be with Keenan anymore, this stubborn guy. He didn't want to be too speculative. He turned around and left home without any nostalgia. Since Keenan left home and started wandering in Runeland, this house has become less and less homeless. After that, Keenan settled in Ionia, and only occasionally came home to see it. The brothers Reed and Keenan belong to the kind of Yordles with a rather special personality in Bandar City. Unlike most Yordles, Keenan has a naive and quirky character. He has an extraordinary perception of the balance between the spiritual realm and the physical realm. Of course, it must also exceed the ordinary Yordle people. And this led him to always work hard to find a way to balance the two, which made him seem out of place among the Yordles, and also made him finally leave Bandar City and settle in Io in Rune lands. Nia. And his younger brother Reed is a little different from him. Although Reed is not as nonsensical as ordinary Yordles and not as innocent as they are, it is because he has been in his 20s since he was born. The memory of the people on earth is not because he is also blessed by nature. Although that memory, reading www.yuyuganshu.com only occupies a small part of his life spanning tens of thousands of years, but that memory is undoubtedly the most important part of his personality. It has a profound impact on him. This lightning squirrel, when the Noxians hit Ionia, he will know that his balanced is no longer. Although Reed is now scornful of the way of balance, he actually followed Keenan and spent some time in the balanced sect before witnessing and participating in the establishment and rise of the balanced sect. Keenan relied on his wisdom and responsibility to obtain the position of Raging Heart and became the three leaders in charge of the balanced sect alongside Twilight Eye and Shadow Fist. And Reed relied on his incomparable strength to get the title of Blade of Gale, but he was not willing to directly participate in the management of sect affairs, so he did not join the three in the management. After staying for a period of time, Reed retired from the balanced sect in a direct and substantial sense. Because he discovered that those who are full of balance are seriously inconsistent with his ideas, the so-called way of balance cannot get his heartfelt approval. And his decisive withdrawal from the balanced sect also directly caused the relationship between him and his brother Keenan to deteriorate, but this was actually just a fuse. After all, Keenan has already criticized him for running around in Runeland and mixing up many things that should not be mixed up. Just like Keenan said just now, he thinks that Reed is just running around. It's troublesome, but it's clear that Reed never thinks so. The two brothers are obviously different from ordinary Yordles in terms of acting styles and thinking concepts, and there are obvious differences between the two of them. Hi. Reed. You don't seem to be very happy. Want to play with Lulu? Let's go find something interesting to do. Pixar, do you have any good ideas? Reed, who just broke up with Keenan just now, almost ran into Lulu, the fairy witch wearing a wizard costume, but with his outstanding physical ability, he successfully braked the car and stopped. Chuckling Lulu was in front of her with a smile. The reason why the two of them almost ran into each other was because of Lulu. This guy didn't walk well, and deliberately quickly slipped to Reed's body. He also giggled himself, as if it was funny. Look like. Thank you Lulu, but I don't need it for the time being. I have other things to do and I can't play with you. Reed declined Lulu's invitation. Although this quirky fairy witch is very cute, she has the ability to torture people. The most important thing is that looking at her cute, headless appearance, even if you have been tortured by her, but you still can't do anything to her, this is the most annoying. Reed couldn't help but think of the embarrassment of being sent directly to Fruljord by using magic indiscriminately on the way when she went out to play with her last time. At that time, in the Frostguard Lord's fort in the far north, Reed took a lot of effort to escape from the Frost Witch who had traded with the Void. The woman who buried everything, but she doesn't care about her old feelings at all. If Reed hadn't neglected her practice these years, the old witch would have taken it down. After all, he could not really kill that woman. Since then, Reed has become very resistant to going out with Lulu. After all, it is really a dangerous project. He, a 10,000-year-old elderly person, can't withstand such excitement, although he also knows Lulu didn't mean it. But this quirky fairy witch has a spirit of perseverance. The more he resists going out with her, the more this Yordle girl wants to invite him out to play. Reed is right, this is very helpless. Well, when will you have time to play with me there? We were so happy last time. I can't wait to go out on an adventure with you again. Obviously Lulu misunderstood the definition of having fun, or what she said was having fun, but she was very happy. In short, Reed didn't think there was any having fun last time. Next time, definitely next time. Reed casually talked about Lulu, but the silly fairy witch pouted this time. She was shorter than Reed, but this was because of Reed's size, which was among the Yordles. It's the reason for being stronger. Lulu put the staff in her hand half a head higher than her on the ground, with one hand on her waist. Her bun's face was puffed up cutely, and she slightly raised her head to look at Reed. You said the same last time. Last time too. Last time too. Reed, you big liar. Facing Lulu's sudden accusation, a cold sweat began to form on Reed's head, and he felt a little hard to get off the ground. If this quirky girl becomes angry, it will be a disaster for the entire Bandar city. Because just like her title, the magic of Fairy Witch Lulu is the wild magic she got from Fantasy Wonderland. And under her slightly comical application, those mysterious powers from Fantasy Wonderland actually possess very terrifying destructive power. Fantasy Wonderland is a magical place, even more distant and mysterious than the existence of Bandar city. So far only Lulu has ever set foot there. And this girl has also become a walking fantasy wonderland. She can change reality as she wants, just like she did in the Fantasy Wonderland. Everything in the world must be changed according to her mind. Sir. Merlin Gunner Tristana salutes you. While Reed was worrying about how to appease Lulu, a crisp voice greeted him, and the greeting was full of respect and admiration for him. Reed turned around and looked at it. It was a female Yordle with white hair. She was wearing a ranger soldier armor, carrying a large caliber hand cannon in her hand, and wearing goggles on her head. She looked admiring. Look at him. This is Tristana, a soldier in the Merlin Commando of the Yordle Special Forces. As an elite soldier among the Yordle, she was praised by Reed and was awarded the Merlin Gunner honorary title. Hello, Tristana, are you going out on patrol now? Reed greeted Tristana and responded to this little fan. At this time, in his heart, he had already thought of how to dismiss Lulu, the fairy witch. Yes, sir. I'm patrolling in accordance with the schedule of the Merlin Commando. Merlin Gunner Tristana answered Reed with high morale. As the founder of the Merlin Commando and the current and only captain, Reed is the object of worship for all Merlin Commando members. Tristana is no exception. UU reading www.uuganshu. What's more, she also received the honorary title of Merlin Gunner from Reed. Tristana, your patrol mission has been cancelled. From now on, I will issue you a special mission. For Tristana, the person who came to the rescue on his own initiative, Reed would naturally not let her go easily. Special mission? What mission? Hearing Reed's words, Tristana's ears immediately stood up. The special task that could be directly issued by Reed, just thinking about it, had already made her curiosity beat up unconvincingly, and was able to be. Tristana also felt honored when Reed was selected. Of course, Lulu, the fairy witch, who pretended to be angry with her mouth pouting, also pricked her ears and listened intently. The 4 words "special mission" are really attractive to them. Big. It's not right, not just for the 2 of them, but for most Yordles, the special tasks that Reed said will arouse their strong curiosity. After all, regardless of the nature of the Yordle, in Bandar City, the special mission issued by a big man like Reed is definitely very touching. I want you to go to Secret City in Demacia to find Bobby, and then bring her back to Bandal City. I want to talk to her about some important things. Reed noticed Lulu's reaction, which made him smile involuntarily, but he still maintained a seriousness on the surface, and seriously entrusted the task to Tristana. Yes, sir. The mission must be completed. Tristana stands at attention and salutes. These are the rules set by Reed. It is really not a simple matter to set rules in Bandar City. After all, the Yordles tend to be free and sloppy. Seeing Tristana happily accepting the special mission, as if she was about to set out to perform the mission, Lulu immediately gave up the idea of continuing to struggle with Reed. Tristana, I want to go with you. Lulu yelled and approached Tristana. Together with the little fairy Pixar, she bounced around Tristana, repeating in her mouth, "Take me with you, I'll go together, take me together, I." Tristana was a little embarrassed. She pushed away Lulu, who was too close to her, and looked at Reed for help, as if she wanted Reed to help her out so that she could perform the task. But Reed's purpose is to let her take Lulu away. How could he help her out? Well, it's okay to let Lulu follow. One more person has more strength. You 2 have to cheer, I'll go first. In Tristana's incredible gaze, Reed simply agreed to Lulu's request to go with him, and then left this place of right and wrong directly and leisurely, leaving Lulu, who was happy, and Kui, who was sluggish. Stana. But there is no way, since Reed has given the order, Tristana can only go with Lulu. She is a member of the Merlin Commando who is very strict with herself. Her self-discipline is a role model for the recruits. She is also the recruit instructor of the Merlin Commando appointed by Reed, and is the protector of the gate passage and the Yordle forest. After getting rid of Lulu, Reed went directly to the central square of Bandar City. Bandar City is a place like a fairy tale world. Reed from the earth felt very strongly about it. He had always only seen in movie scenes and descriptions in fairy tale books. And his own image and appearance gave him this feeling, a cute and loving Pandaman. At the beginning, he almost thought he had come to Pandaria. But his golden squirrel-like brother named Keenan, and his no longer growing size, let him understand his identity as a Yordle. Tens of thousands of years have made him gradually forget many memories. After all, the memory of the Yordles is not very good, and he no longer misses home from time to time, because he clearly remembers that before he came to this world, the earth it was already exploded, and he couldn't go back even if he was homesick. Sir. Captain Timo salutes you. When Reed was walking and starting to reminisce about the past, a small raccoon Yordle dressed as a scout appeared in front of Reed and paid him a military salute. Looking at the smiling, squinted little raccoon in front of him, Reed laughed, and he waved his hand to say hello. Timo, where are you going? Tavern. Looking at Timo's relaxed look, he should be resting, so Reed guessed that he should go to a tavern for a drink. As the captain of the Special Operations Squad of the main ship scout team, Timo, who was awarded the title of Swift Scout by Reed, is a true elite scout and has shown amazing talent since he was a child. He was born to do this. Yeah, sir, do you want to have a drink with me? The Beeswax Tavern has the most seasonal mead today. It is delicious in the world. It would be a shame not to have a drink. As expected by Reed, Timo is going to drink in the tavern. This is one of Timo's few hobbies. He is a big fan of the honey wine in the Beeswax Tavern. Of course, I'm happy, and I'm about to go. In fact, Reed also likes to drink the mead in the Beeswax Tavern, and Timo's habit is actually largely influenced by him. As the founder of the main ship scout team, and the current and only one captain, Reed is also Tima's idol. There is nothing wrong. The two major special forces in Bandar City, the main ship scout team and the Merlin Commando team, were all established by Reed, so as a big figure in Bandar City, Reed is truly worthy of the name. The topic comes back to mead. Mead is a kind of wine that is similar to beer in all aspects, but should be classified into the category of wine. When he was on Earth, Reed had only heard of it, but he hadn't really drank it. After all, it was a wine that was not popular among flower growers, and it was basically not sold seriously. After drinking this specialty wine in Bandar City, Reed instantly felt that he opened the door to a new world. From then on, he fell in love with this special mead. Reed and Timo walked together, and soon came to the Beeswax Tavern near the central square of Bandar City. This tavern is not large in scale, or even a little bit cramped, but it is such an inconspicuous tavern. Produced the mead that people can't stop. Reed. Timo. You are here. I knew you were coming. After all, today is a new day for mead. Reed and Timo had just walked into the tavern, and there were regular customers in the tavern, and they began to greet them enthusiastically. Obviously everyone knew they would come. That's natural, how can you miss this kind of day? Reed is also unassuming, just like an ordinary drinking buddy. He and Timo sat together in front of the bar, which was the place everyone agreed to leave them. Of course, there are people who are willing to sit, but in the new days of mead, everyone will specially set aside these two positions, specifically for them too. If it is not surprising that Reed was able to get this treatment based on his reputation and status, Timo was able to get this treatment. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com undoubtedly illustrates his work in the main ship scout team over the years. What a great job! Although the smiling little raccoon now looks harmless to humans and animals, and is sincere, gentle, amiable, and very charming in daily life. But in the past few years, the invaders who died under Timo's blowgun, those who came from the material realm with bad intentions, have to be as many as 3 digits, to say nothing. Timo has long become one of the Yordles. A legend. Of course, Timo's most worthy of praise, but also to count the scout regulations tasks he completed. He is the Yordle who has completed the most expedition missions in the Bandar City Scout Mission Regulations so far. The book Bandar City Scout Mission Regulations was created when Reed was fine. It contains a variety of expedition missions, some are very dangerous, some are relatively simple, and it can be said to be all-encompassing. And Timo can become the Yordle who has completed the most tasks. Naturally it has been able to explain his strength, and it is normal that he can be respected by the drinkers. Cheers! For Bandar City! For the freedom and glory of the Yordle! As the owner of the Beeswax Tavern, he personally filled Reed and Timo with clear mead, then Reed stood up and invited everyone in the tavern to raise their glasses. Cheers! Everyone shouted in unison, responding to his words from the bottom of their hearts. After a free drink, everyone immediately began to chat with joy and laughter. The atmosphere in the pub was very lively. Feeling the deliciousness that stimulates the taste buds, listening to the laughter of the people around you, Reed filled a glass of mead again, and touched a glass with Timo alone. I really love mead. After drinking some mead with Timo in the Beeswax Tavern, Reed's horrible mood due to the dispute with his brother Keenan finally eased. He stopped thinking about the old stubborn thing, and turned his attention back to the matter of Bandar City. He still has a lot of things to deal with. After all, as one of the oldest Yordles, Reed is not only the founder of the two special forces Merlin Commando and main ship scout team, but he is also the de facto leader of Bandar City, Yordle the recognized co-leader. He is responsible for the affairs of Bandar City, and is responsible for protecting the safety of the people of Yordle. But those things can be postponed until tomorrow. Reed now only wants to go home and have a good sleep. Even if the star-casting Dragon King Thor comes, he can't hold him back. Returning to his manor, looking at the courtyard that had been reorganized, and the fruit trees and vegetables that were replanted, Reed just sneered and shook his head, and went straight back to his cozy hut with his head covered. Sleep. In the balanced sect, there is a special spell, and they also have special spells, which are researched to protect their so-called balance. Keenan uses the balanced sect method. Everything was restored to its original state in such a short period of time. Reed really knows Keenan too well. He will leave after the fight and leave a mess for Keenan, because he knows Keenan will do it. Perhaps sometimes, balance is still useful. Looking at his renewed courtyard, Reed, who woke up, couldn't help but sigh with the convenience of the spell. He picked a fruit and wiped it with his hands. While eating the fruit, Reed went to the town hall of Bandar City. I was lazy yesterday, but today he has to do business. Reed had arranged for Tristana and Lulu to find Bobby in Mayan City, northwest of Demacia. He was not just trying to get the other party apart. He really had something to do. Discuss with Bobby. As the glorious ambassador of Bandar City to Demacia, Bobby is the link between Bandar City and Demacia. Of course, what Reed wants to discuss with Bobby is also related to Demacia. Reed wants to develop international trade between Bandar City and Demacia, although he knows that it is very difficult. After all, for Demacia, who rejects and prohibits magic, Yordle is born with magical powers. People are simply their natural hostile countries. But because of some historical reasons, the Demacians are actually relatively friendly to the Yordles. Besides, Reed doesn't want to do magic-related business with each other. Bandar City is not only magical creations. Therefore, Reed is actually quite confident about getting Jarvan III to nod and agree to the development of international trade. The Demacians should not be so ungrateful yet. Heimridinger, I need you to upgrade weapons for our special forces. New recruits need new equipment. Not every Yordle can use their own weapons like Timo and Tristana. At the town hall in Bandar City, Reed sat in the office, and Heimerdinger, who came to him, made a request. Yes, Reed, what you said is correct. I have the same opinion as you. It just so happens that what I'm here to talk about is actually about weapons. Heimerdinger shook his fluffy head and replied to Reed. His two grey beards are very conspicuous on his face. It is obvious that Heimerdinger is also a very old Yordle. People, at least they look like this. I have improved the automatic pitcher H28G in accordance with your requirements. I have to say, Reed, you really have the full ability to innovate. Your whimsical ideas seem to never dry up. I don't have any. I thought that this machine could be improved into a fort. As soon as he talked about his invention, Heimerdinger started to get excited. This guy is a real tech freak. Since Reed knew him, he has always been like this. The infinite curiosity of the Yordle is vividly reflected in him. This guy's desire for knowledge and the exploration of the mysteries of the universe have never stopped. The automated pitching device H28G mentioned by Heimerdinger was his inspiration from watching young Yodles playing a pitching game. His original intention was to create a machine that could automatically throw the ball and let the Yodles pick it up. But because the launch speed is set too high, this pitching machine has lost its game function, because apart from Reed, no young Yodle can catch the ball it throws, even with the lowest use. No one can catch the speed of the gear. And Reed's suggestion to him was to convert the automated pitcher H28G into a turret as a defense weapon for Bandar City. Heimridinger readily accepted this proposal and went back to do an improvement experiment. He just today after finishing the work, immediately come to Reed to report the results. Very good, you really did not disappoint me, my good partner. It seems that the next H28G construction will be on the schedule. Regarding the good news brought by Heimerdinger, Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com. Reed is naturally very happy. After all, this H28G fort is not unfamiliar to Reed, because this thing is Heimerdinger's Q skills. However, the entity of this H2HE is much more exaggerated than in the game, especially after the new transformation of Heimerdinger. This H2HE has become a city defense gun, and it is very powerful. Amazing. The most important thing is that the operation is still very convenient and very smart. But, Heimerdinger, I still need to upgrade the soldiers' side weapons. Obviously, the H2HE cannot be carried with me, at least in the case of individual combat. Although the successful development of the H2HE made Reed very happy, it still did not solve the problem that Reed raised just now. The weapons currently used by the Yordle soldiers cannot satisfy him. That is not in line with their current situation. It's time to upgrade the level of technology. You know, under the cooperation of Reed and Heimerdinger, Bandar City has realized the modernization of people's livelihood thousands of years ago, and it uses clean energy to facilitate daily life. While living, the environment of Bandar City is protected to the greatest extent. With Reed's own ability, of course he can't do this kind of thing. After all, he's not the kind of big guy who knows a little before crossing, but he has his wonderful ideas, and Blackmerdinger's brain and Hansen ability are simply a perfect match. Yes, I am here for this. Heimerdinger continued calmly. Hextech, which has flourished in Piltworth, will be the general trend of future technological development. We should start contacting them. Hextech weapons sounds like a good choice, don't they? Hextech. Hearing Heimerdinger's words, Reed couldn't help but frowned, which made Heimerdinger mistakenly think that he didn't understand Hextech. After all, this technology from Piltworth is indeed very new. Heimerdinger himself has only recently heard of it. It is completely different from their technology in Bandar City, and it is worthy of careful study and study. Yes, Piltoff's hex technology, that is a new and unexpected fusion of magic and technology, I can't wait to study it. Heimerdinger is obviously very interested in this new technology, but the meaning of new in his words is not so friendly to humans. Although a period of 100 or 200 years, to the Yordle, it is only a small part of a long life. But this time span is long enough to kill 2 generations of humans. Hex technology is nothing new at all, but it has been monopolized by Piltwolf. Heimerdinger, if you know how the hex crystals were obtained, you won't continue to praise hex technology. The Pigeon guy has covered up the truth. Reed shook his head. He wanted to directly kill Heimerdinger's yearning for Hextech. That is not the future of Bandar City, and the Yordles shouldn't have anything to do with that troublesome thing. That's for them. It's not worth the loss. The truth? What truth? Heimerdinger looked at Reed curiously. Although he did a certain investigation on Hextech before coming, his investigation was obviously not deep enough to let him know the truth behind the scenes. He investigated the direction is not in this respect, he only paid attention to the application of hex technology. Furthermore, the secret agents of Piltwolf's families are not vegetarians. How can this kind of news be spread at will? How can it be easily obtained by people? The hex crystals were actually taken from an ancient creature called the shell human race living in Shurima. Each hex crystal represents the life of a shell human race, and the shell human race has a collective consciousness. Special races, and those crystals, are the carriers that connect their collective consciousness and inherit their own existence and memory. Reed's words made Heimerdinger dumbfounded. Although he had never been in contact with the shell humans, he could tell from Reed's description that the ancient creatures, the shell humans, were obviously a sapient race, just like their Yordles. This, too cruel. As a Yordle, Heimerdinger found it difficult to accept Mrs. Piltworth's behavior. In addition to the goodness, friendliness, and peace-loving factors of the Yordle, the reason Heimerdinger feels unacceptable is because the shell people and their Yordle are the same in the eyes of humans. For humans, they are just 2 alien races with completely different looks, habits, and abilities. In ancient times, I used to communicate with people from the shell human race. They have a lot of similarities with us. They are even more talented than most of us in terms of their perception of the spirit of nature. Reed actually feels very emotional. The shell race is a race that lives in isolation, idyllic and peaceful years. The migration of humans from the land of the firstborn to the Shurima continent has brought them to their lives. Great destruction. Because of the arrival of mankind, endless wars and chaos have been brought about. In order to avoid the war, the shell people sank into the ground and fell asleep, but obviously mankind still did not let them go. Well, it seems that Hexdeca's path is not working, but their idea can be used for reference. The combination of magic and technology. Both of us are very good at Yordle. Maybe we can make it. Hex crystal that belongs to Bandar city. Although Hexdeca's route was blocked by Reed, the great inventor Heimridinger was not discouraged. They disdain to use the cruel hex crystal, but they can try to use their own power, to create something similar to that kind of crystal. This is a good idea. There seems to be something similar in Piltwolf, the synthetic hex crystal of the Philos family, but they still produce the hex crystal based on the hex crystal. They want to make the hex crystal completely. Crystals should still be very difficult, otherwise the Pigeon guys who are profiteering would have already made them. Reed expressed support for Heimerdinger's ideas, but he was not very optimistic about the prospects of this research. After all, Piltworth also has many geniuses, but he has not heard of anyone who can make hex crystals. If it works, you have to try it. I'm Heimridinger. And Heimerdinger, who has found a new research direction, is in excitement. He is not the kind of person who can easily admit defeat. Reading www.yunshu. Besides, compared with ordinary people in Piltwolf, the Yordles are more blessed in magic, and maybe they can really help Heimerdinger. I won't tell you, I'm going back to start researching. I feel that my ideas are going crazy, I can't wait to experiment immediately. Heimerdinger waved his hand to Reed anxiously. Although he didn't know what he was thinking of, he was indeed the whole person. He was immersed in the research of the Bandar crystal and could not extricate himself from it. What about my individual combat weapon? Seeing Heimerdinger was so excited, he was about to drive away quickly. Reed only had time to shout to his back, and Heimerdinger replied from a distance, "It's ready, CH2 electronic storm grenade." The name CH2 electronic storm grenade is also quite familiar to Reed. Isn't this the E-skill in the Heimridinger game? It's quite suitable for individual soldiers to carry. But that baby is still a drawing, I'll give it to you in 2 days. It's just that the second sentence that Heimerdinger passed from a distance caused Reed to shed a few drops of cold sweat on his head. Co-authoring this CH2 electronic storm grenade was still a bad check from him, even I haven't made it yet. However, Reed still trusts Heimerdinger's research and development capabilities. Although the CH2 electronic storm grenade is still in blueprint status, the guy said that it is okay. This is Reed's unconditional trust in his old friends. Heimridinger returned to the workshop to start his research, while Reed continued to stay in the office to deal with official duties. It was not until Lulu and Tristana brought Bobby in that Reed put down his hand. A pen that never stopped. Reed. We are back. And we have brought Bobby back. As soon as he entered Reed's office, Lulu yelled to Reed proudly with her waist in her waist, as if she was asking for credit. Yes, thank you guys, the task was completed very well. Reed enthusiastically praised her and praised her a few words, which made Lulu, who is always a childlike heart, giggled. She was very happy to be able to help Reed. In fact, it was mainly because she felt this adventure is very interesting, she had a lot of fun, and it would be nice to be able to help by the way. Of course, there are very few things that make Lulu feel boring. She will always look like this carefree, as if there is nothing in the world worthy of her troubles. Maybe this is the reason why Fantasy Wonderland chose her, and only Yordles like Lulu can still maintain their original heart and a childlike innocence after gaining that kind of terrifying power. Thinking of being able to play around happily every day. Sir, Tristana does not humiliate her mission. On the other hand, Tristana reported to Reed with a very serious salute. Tristana, who had been asking herself strictly, would not be as rudless as Lulu. Very good, my Lin Gunner, you can go to rest. Reed also praised Tristana, which made the little gunner very happy, but she still tried her best to stiffen her expression and saluted Reed seriously. What? Lulu, are you okay? Tristana has turned and left, but Lulu is still jumping right and left in the office, seeming to want to find some fun in Reed's office, and she has no intention of leaving with Tristana. Hey? Of course. I have to wait for you to play together. Although Lulu went out with Tristana and had fun, she still didn't forget about going out with Reed, which made Reed not know for a while. Still troubled. Reed silently looked at Bobby, who had maintained a posture since he came in, a quiet and peaceful face, and Bobby looked at him with staring eyes and gave him a friendly attitude. Smile. At this time, the two Yordle girls formed a sharp contrast in front of Reed's eyes. One was bouncing and joking, like a happy little frog, while the other one was a breeze. Quiet and indifferent, just like the lady of a big family. Although this eldest lady with a double ponytail is holding a pair of her high hammers in her hands, she is wearing armor. Helplessly holding his forehead, Reed called Tristana an emergency, and then continued to throw Lulu to the little runner. Tristana, the automated pitching device H28G in the square has been transformed into a fort by him riding her. Could you please help arrange the deployment? The Bandle gunners should also start to familiarize themselves with how to operate it. You will also be responsible for that thing in the future. Reed's reason is very valid, Tristana has no doubts about it, and this reason is not at all like Reed made up casually to divert Lulu's attention. But after hearing the name Automated Pitcher H28G, Lulu was still attracted to it, because she had played this thing. Although at the very beginning, this thing was actually a very failed invention in the eyes of the Yordles because they could not play at all, but Lulu still found it very interesting. This girl is actually a champion in another sense. There are no things and things that she finds boring. I want to go together. Lulu raised her hand again, and Pixar flew happily beside her, seeming to express how happy Lulu was. This time without even waiting for Tristana to start asking for help, Reed directly agreed to Lulu's request, which made Tristana swallow her refusal. Looking at the helpless back of Tristana who led Lulu out, Reed silently said apologize in his heart. But he felt that Tristana and Lulu's auras should be more compatible. After all, with Lulu, Tristana did not encounter any danger, and Lulu did not cause any trouble, which is already very serious. It's rare. Teacher, is there anything you came to see for me? Seeing that the office finally calmed down, Bobby proactively saluted Reed and asked. She called Reed a special name because she had been instructed by Reed together with Oren, so she kept saying does disciples consider themselves. Although she is not a disciple of the Storm Sword School, she has not learned the storm swordsmanship, and she doesn't even use swords at all. That's it, Bobby, I hope you can convey what I mean to Jarvan 3. This is a good thing for Dimasha and Bandar City. Reed simply told Bobby of his thoughts, and then handed Bobby a reel, which contained his letter to King Dimasha, Jarvan 3 of the Light Shield family. Good tutor, I will do it. Poppy accepted this task solemnly. She will not relax at all about Reed. She has memorized everything Reed told her so that she can repeat it to King Jarvan 3 of Dimasha. After explaining the official business, Yu read www.yunsha.com and Reed signaled that Bobby could relax a little bit. Now they can get along as a master or apprentice, or as a friend, without being so restrained. Bobby, are you still looking for that hero for Oren? Reed took a sip from his teacup. The unique King's tea in Bandar City made his mind feel a little refreshing. The refreshing effect of this tea is very significant. Yes, mentor, I haven't found that hero yet. Bobby's expression was a little sad. She felt that she had failed Oren's instructions to her. Oren had been dead for 600 to 700 years, but she hadn't even found that one. She could use this Oren hammer. The hero who protects Demasha, but she will never stop searching. Oh, hearing Bobby's words, Reed couldn't help but sighed, which made Bobby seem a little confused. The girl looked at her mentor Reed, hoping to get Reed's explanation. Poppy, I told you 700 years ago that your problem is a lack of self-confidence, but you have never gotten rid of this lack of self-confidence. Reed's words made Bobby a little ashamed, and she immediately bowed to Reed and apologized, obviously respecting Reed very much. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Poppy's attitude is very sincere. She actually knew what Reed meant, but she didn't think it was that way. I know what you mean, but the hero Oren is looking for will definitely not be me. I am just the person he entrusted to find, because he knows that my lifespan is very long, and he will definitely be able to find that hero for him. Poppy's words are very confident, she obviously believes in this, and this makes Reed want to sigh. In addition to her lack of self-confidence, this girl has a particularly stubborn temper. I don't know if I should be happy for Oren, or regret it for Oren, regretting that I didn't explain clearly at the beginning. Oren is the founder of Demasha. He is a true hero. His short but meaningful life left a deep impression on Reed. He is a friend who deserves to be mourned by Reed from time to time. During the Rune War, Oren led refugees from all over the Valoran continent to form a refugee tribe. He led them all the way to the west of the Valoran continent and came to what is now Demasha. Because of the fight for the world runes and the rune wars that caused these refugees to be devastated by magic, Oren established the country of Demasha based on Demasha's forbidden magic stone. The fear of magic all stems from that devastating war. During the rune wars, Reed was very active. He participated in a lot of things and got what he wanted. In the difficult process of establishing Demasha, Reed gave Oren a lot of help, is very kindly called by Oren as a life mentor and guide. And this is the reason why the Yordles are not so much rejected by the Demachians, because in the Demachian capital, there are even statues of Reed. The statues of Reed are better than the pair of flying wings. The statue of the appeared earlier, I hope it has not been forgotten by the Demachians. Rather than speaking, Oren and Poppy are actually the same. Of course, compared to Reed, who is a mentor, Bobby actually learned more from Oren, because the two of them have a very close personality. Among the Yodles, Bobby has a special personality. From the moment she can remember, she has been looking for the purpose of life. She prefers to find the law and order around her, and is often immersed in it. It is not like it at all. A Yodel who has a flamboyant personality, only knows how to play, and is always whimsical and full of whimsical ideas. Therefore, like Keenan, she finally left Bandle City because of this difference, wandering in Runeterra, and happened to encounter Oren and his mixed refugee tribe, as well as Reed, her life mentor. Bobby was attracted by Oren's personality charm. Oren's words and deeds seem to inspire everyone like a soul. If someone becomes discouraged, he will come to remind them of the purpose of this long journey. If someone feels when exhausted, he will cheer them up again. This reminded Poppy of some Yordle spells, but Oren achieved the same effect without relying on magic. After joining Oren's refugee team, Bobby quickly integrated into those refugees with goals. For Bobby, who has been searching for meaning in life, the appearance of Reed and Oren is very significant. Demasha's order, regularity, and orderliness deeply attracted Poppy, just like Ionia was to Keenan, but compared to Keenan, young Poppy is more susceptible to Reed's influence. Under Reed's guidance, Bobby made it his mission and goal to maintain the friendly relationship between Demasha and Bandar City. Of course, when Oren was dying, he entrusted Bobby with the hammer of Oren and told her euphemistically that she hoped she could become a peerless hero of Demasha and hoped that she could protect the unity of Demasha. Peace and unification will enable Demasha to truly be in peace and stability for generations to come. Poppy, who misunderstood Oren's meaning, regarded finding the owner for Oren's hammer as one of his life goals, and he did not stop searching for it for hundreds of years. Reed felt very sorry for Bobby's ability to understand. Oren, as the founder of Demacia, as a leader who builds a country based on his personal charm, has an extraordinary significance for the warhammer he has always carried with him. Oren's hammer even became the sacred symbol of that new country for a time, and was even promoted to the point where it had the power to destroy and shake the earth. In a sense, Oren handed the holy hammer to Bobby, which was actually giving Bobby the leadership of Demacia, but Bobby, who was honest, didn't think about that. I hope you can find the legendary Demacia hero as soon as possible, or see yourself clearly as soon as possible. Reed is helpless, he has always had no good way to deal with Yordles like Bobby and Keenan. Thank you, mentor, I will definitely find him. Poppy still respects Reed very much. If others have been telling her that the hero is her own, then she would have started to say that the other party's words are nonsense. Go to Jarvan 3, and convey my meaning to him. Reed stopped talking, and directly asked Bobby to return to Demacia. In fact, he came back and forth quickly. Because the portals of Bandar City's gates exist everywhere in Runeterra, this is a huge advantage. After all, these gates are only open to the Yordles except for some specific moments. Of course, even for the Yordles, it is not easy to return to Bandar City from Runeland. On the contrary, it is easier to get out, just go to the doorway, and enter which doorway you want. UU reading www.uuganshu.com. But even so, if Demacia and Bandar City can carry out international trade, the transportation cost of the goods will also be extremely low. Of course, the war potential of the Bandar Gate passage is also not low. Good mentor, I hope I can often have the opportunity to listen to your teachings. In my free time looking for heroes, I will definitely come back to Bandar City to see you. Bobby bowed seriously to Reed, then took her sledgehammer and left. The attitude of this child always gave Reed an illusion, and always made him think that he was old enough. Not much to the point. With a helpless smile, Reed cleaned up the various documents on the desk, and then left the office. The backlog of work for a long time has been processed by him, and there are many days to rest. Bandar City itself does not have too many problems to deal with. Although the Yordles without off character will always cause a lot of troubles, they are all children who are not bad-hearted. No matter how big the troubles are, where can they be messed up? Where to go? Many things can be handled properly by the Yordle people. Therefore, as the leader of the Yordle people, Reed will have so much leisure time to wander around the Rune land. If this is replaced by the rulers of Demacia and Nakuz, if they go out and hang around for several years, then I am afraid that the whole country will not be ruined when they come home. Reed. I found it. I found Nora's trail. In Shurima. But a big monster prevented me from continuing to explore. Come with me. As soon as Reed walked out of the office, the air in front of him suddenly distorted violently. A slightly embarrassed blue cat jumped out of the portal that opened suddenly, followed by a magic book. End 2. Karaksai is in the south of Shurima. It used to be the place where the Rai tribe lived. But now, this is a place name that is unwilling to be mentioned in Shurima. Only those who are desperate will choose to travel through Kali. Kesai. Karaksai is called the Sea of Bones by the people in the north of Shurima, but they don't understand the meaning of Karaksai at all. The Sea of Bones is a wrong translation. The people of the Lai tribe have never seen the sea. Stuffed in the Lai language refers to a plain of sand and gravel, which makes people walk slowly and painfully. The name means that this land has been riddled with holes, it means that this land is full of tunnels, it means that Exil is hunting here, it means that death is lurking under the gravel, and it may jump up at any time. Standing on the top of the sand dune, Reed and Yumi can easily overlook the landmark here, which is a huge skeleton. Thousands of years of wind and sand have corroded its flesh and blood, and now only huge ribs are left obliquely inserted into the sky, and the shadow cast by each rib is enough to cover a caravan. No one knows what this monster was when it was alive. Look like. Now, when you see this skeletal landmark, it means that you are about to enter Karaksay next. Maybe this is why the Northerners translated Karaksay as the Sea of Bones. Reed knew that this huge skeleton might be the corpse of a certain warrior, or it might be left by a certain void monster, or even a combination of the two. There are too many dangers in the territory of the lost Shurima Empire, and Rek'Sai is one of them. The reason why Reed is not enthusiastic about coming to Karak is not that he doesn't care about Nora's safety. As Nora's good friend, of course he wants to take her home, and even as the leader of Bandar City, save someone who has fallen into trouble. The dangerous Yordle is also what Reed should do. But Nora is not here. Reed is very sure. Nora is actually in the void. The breath of Nora that Yumi smelled here should be the breath that oozes from the void. This is based on the memory of Reed. Among them, the inference made by the story between Yumi and Rexel. As the creation of the Void Watcher, the mission of Rek'Sai and her tribe, Exel, is to dig, and keep digging until they dig a tunnel leading to the void, and now her mission has been half completed. After thousands of years of excavation, the tunnel dug by Rek'Sai can even ooze the breath of the void. Although it is still incomparable with the situation of Ikathia and the Howling Abyss, one day, Rek'Sai will complete her task and welcome the arrival of their creator. Go. Reed. Let's save Nora together. Yumi shook her tail, looking a little impatient. After bringing Reed over, she instantly felt confident. Only her own words, she can't defeat the terrible monster, but with Reed, Reed will be responsible for the attack and she will be responsible for the protection. She believes that their combination can definitely defeat the monster. Yumi is a cat who is born with powerful protective magic. She is one of the many magical creatures in Yordle City. Her protective magic is very powerful, and this is why, Reed will let her carry the reason for the chaos of the rune-filled land in the Amentia magic book is now. You have to know that Gates is like a master key to Bandar City, which can open all the doors of Bandar City. If it is obtained by malicious people, the consequences are absolutely unimaginable. If Yumi does not have enough power to protect herself and the gondola, Therda has already confiscated the gondola. Although the gondola has its own consciousness, it cannot resist. Reed. Puff puff puff, the magic of the door is floating in the sky, and it is also urging Reed, which makes Reed feel a little bit dumbfounded. Both this cat and this book are very nervous about their owners. It seems as if Reed doesn't care about friends. Reed couldn't tell Yumi and Ghost Grimoire that Nora is now in the void, because this pair of strange combinations does not have the ability to protect herself in the void. Now that I don't know where Nora is, Yumi and the Ghost Grimoire can boldly scurry around in Rune Land. But if Reed tells them that Nora is in the void, the pair will definitely go to the void to find Nora, which is undoubtedly a dead end for both of them. After all, even Reed has to be very careful in the void. That is not the field that ordinary people should set foot in. It is enough to go to the void to find Nora. He does it by himself. Let's go, let's find the legendary monster Rek'Sai, let her tell the news about Nora. If she doesn't say anything, then we will beat her up. Reed vocally echoed Yumi and the Ghost Magic Book. If you only need to fight with Rek'Sai, if you can make these two guys give up, then Da doesn't mind looking for it. The Void Escape Beast Queen moved her muscles and bones. A Yordle, a magic cat, a flying magic book, this strange combination entered the Karak race, and their actions did not cover up. For mortals, if they want to cross the Karak race, they must avoid the ears of the Exels. For this reason, the people of the Rai tribe have invented a special quiet walk. Only by learning to walk quietly, every step is as light as a mouse and as far as an antelope. Only those who walk fast and quiet can walk out of Karaksay alive. But Reed's purpose is to attract the Exels, so naturally they don't need to hide their whereabouts. Even Reed is worried, can the sound of their combination really attract the Exels? Yumi squatted on the magic book, and the magic book flew in the air. Among them, only Reed himself was walking in the sand sea. Although his body is relatively strong among the Yordles, it is far better than that. Not a normal person. Maybe in the ears of Exel, the sound of Reed walking is the sound of a human child walking. Fortunately, they have one goal, which is where Yumi dug a hole before. Reed guessed that Yumi, this guy, may have dug into Rek'Sai's lair, otherwise it wouldn't be so coincidental. Stuffed. Soon, Reed and his party were discovered. A few Exeters cruising nearby heard their voices. Because of Rexel's rage, these Exeters were more active than usual, even if they were. With a faint sound, they came over to check. The dry wind whistling in the desert blew Reed's cloak. He stretched out his hand to hold down his slightly raised hat, and shook the yellow sand and gravel accumulated on it. Looking at the exposed dorsal fins of a few Exel wandering in the sand in front of him, Reed knew that there was no Rexel inside, these were just ordinary Exels. In fact, there are still great individual differences between Zers and this void creation. There are behemoths as terrifying as Rexes, and there are ordinary Exel the size of a jackal hound. And these Exels in front of them can be judged by the size of their dorsal fins. Obviously they are not very big, but they are just ordinary individuals in the Exel group. Of course, this size Exel is actually big enough for the petite Yordles. It's no more than a general armed caravan, but the guards have some courage, and only 3 or 4 people can kill such an Exel. Of course, they may have to pay 1 or 2 people for this as the price of killing it. In fact, using a camel as a bait first, and then letting the guards kill it is the best way. The right people who serve as guides generally recommend this, but in the current Shurima, life is much cheaper than a camel. Up! Monster! Go to hell! Yumi didn't panic, she shook her tail, and a magic missile was thrown out by her, and it hit an Exel who jumped out of the ground breaking through the sand. With its flaming tail swaying, it looked like a yellow fish-like missile. Although it looked cute, it was not too powerful at all. The missile hit the Zer's head and directly hit the Exel. Flew out. Wow! I like magic! Looking at the results of her fishing and flying bombs, Yumi was obviously a little proud, but her attack did not cause much damage to the Exel, and the knocked-out Exel shook. His head quickly rushed toward Yumi and mentioned magic book again. This caused the strange combination to immediately stage a scene of flying with each other. Yes, Yumi himself can actually fly, but this cat is too lazy, and usually let the ghost magic book take it with you. She flies together. But there is no way, can you count on how diligent a cat is? Even if this cat is a magic cat. There was a sound of a sharp blade out of the sheath, and when the Exel who pounced on Yumi and the ghost grimoire fell to the ground, it was already cut in half by the sharp blade in Reed's hand. The Exel fell to the ground. Although it had just been killed, its flesh had begun to flow out disgusting pus and foam, and the rate of decay was very abnormal. As expected, this creature is not edible. Reed shook the sharp blade in his hand. There was no blood or dirt on the shining sharp blade, and he knew it was a good weapon. But what he said made Yumi a little dazed, and almost failed to fly, and fell from the air to the ground. No matter how you look at it, it doesn't look like you can eat it, right? Looking at the weird and horrible creature in front of him, Yumi has never made any connection between Exel and food. The void creatures like Exel are very special. They have no eyes. They only have a mouth on their entire face. The mouth is full of huge teeth, and a long tongue sticks out from time to time, sniffing the scent of prey in the wind. The powerful forelimbs bow left and right, and together with the tail that drags behind them like leeches, they support their bodies, and there are dorsal fins on their backs, which will be exposed when they dive into the yellow sand. They rely on the ability to track their prey, but they can only hear the sound of movement. If the prey is still, they cannot find it. This is actually the reason why the Rai people practice the quiet step. The real quiet step master can even escape in the hands of the avoid escape beast Rek'Sai, and can even fool the queen. Perception. Roar. A companion was killed, making the remaining Exel feel threatened, and one of them immediately began to retreat, not knowing whether it was fleeing or moving to rescue soldiers. But those Exels roared almost at the same time, which made Reed certain that they wanted to call the Queen Rexel, who was in a rage, to come over. Reed was surrounded by the wind spirit, his figure became blurred, and the cold light flickered continuously. When the wind spirit ceased completely, Reed returned to his sheath. Those Exels stopped yelling, and their bodies broke apart from the middle almost at the same time. Disgusting pus and foam began to flow out, and the corpses began to decay rapidly. Wow! Reed, you are so amazing! Seeing this scene, Yumi, who is very competent next to him, became a boasting group. It seemed that he always played the 666 pendant at the first time after the teammate show operation. UU reading www.uuganshu.com. Don't do 6 basic exercises. Reed waved his hand casually. These are just peanuts that are not even an appetizer. Killing them is a waste of time. No matter how many of these Xer come, they will not be able to force him out of the first place. 2 swords. It is Rek'Sai, the queen of these X's, who may give Reed a chance to draw a second sword to fight. Should we continue to find Rek'Sai? Yumi, who thinks they can defeat the monster, becomes more and more anxious to take Reed to find Rek'Sai. Wait, that guy should be here soon, if her hearing is not that bad. But Reed felt that they didn't need to go to each other anymore. The exaggerated roars just now should have attracted her. Even if she was too far away to hear, Reed deliberately let go of one. Report to her. Yumi did not object to Reed's statement, so they began to wait for the arrival of the avoid-escape beast Rek'Sai, and in order to keep that guy from losing his goal, Reed kept spinning around to make a sound especially intimate. And the monster did not live up to their expectations. It didn't take long for her to rush over here. That is really a huge creature, just looking at her purple dorsal fin exposed on the sand, it is already several times the size of those little Exel's dorsal fins, just like a big shark wandering in the desert. Come on! That monster! Yumi also spotted Rek'Sai, who was approaching quickly. She immediately approached Reed, blowing a big magic shield bubble around them, wrapping her, Reed and the gates together. Up!